So what we're going to do is just start the evening off with speakers from key industries that are very important to Colorado Springs, where we know that there are job opportunities for young professionals. So we're going to read a little bit about each person, introduce them. They're going to talk about their field, a little bit about themselves, uniquenesses to their industry, and we'll go through them, and at the end we'll do a Q&A so you guys will have a chance to ask questions to them, okay? So we're going to start with Morane Kerek, who's the Internal Audit Director for the United States Olympic Committee. Morane was promoted to Managing Director of Internal Audit for the United States Olympic Committee in February 2013, a little more than 6 years after she began her duties as Controller on October 24th, 2006. In her current role, Kerek manages both the long-term and day-to-day operations of all USOC audit functions and evaluates an overall effectiveness of the USOC accounting controls and operating practices. She also assists the national governing bodies in understanding and achieving compliance with USOC requirements, which includes the review of NGB grant reports and the evaluation of NGB disbursement of athlete assistance funds. Kerek also serves as a staff liaison to the USOC Audit Committee. Kerek joined the USOC after serving as Vice President of Financial Sports, Entertainment and Media at IMG. And Kerek oversaw budgeting, forecasting, and new business evaluations for the tennis division. In her role, she devised and implemented cost reduction initiatives and introduced new forecasting procedures to increase accuracy and improve communication. In addition to the tennis division budgetary oversight, Kerek also contributed to the financial goals of various divisions, including the consulting and soccer divisions at IMG during her tenure. Kerek also served as controller for TWI, the sport division production arm of IMG and the company's largest division at the time, from 1999 to 2001. Kerek joined IMG in 1996 as a client accountant after beginning her career at the Chicago office of Ernst & Young in 1993. Kerek is a graduate of Miami University in Oxford, Ohio, with a Bachelor's of Science degree in accounting. She is the member of the American Institute of Certified Public Accountants, of the Ohio Society of Certified Public Accountants, and the Institute of Internal Auditors. She is married with 2 children, enjoys skiing, hiking, and yoga. That's a long introduction. With that, Morane Kerek.
Was a long introduction. So it's weird to hear your own bio read back to you, you know? So thank you guys for hosting me tonight. It's always kind of fun to come and speak about where you've been, and hopefully somebody else can glean some insights about where they're going from your history. That long bio, so Melissa gave us a couple subjects to touch on, so hopefully I don't appear to jump around too much as I try to touch each of those subjects. To start from the bio, if you notice there were lots of job descriptions in there and lots of different divisions. I ended up with lots of different jobs because I volunteered for things. You don't get promoted in any company without taking on more duties. They don't just reward you for being really good at what your current job is. You have to show that you're ready to grow into the next roles. To give you an example, in my organization at the USOC, we have 2 different terms that we talk about. One is a high performer and one is a high potential. A high performer employee is somebody who's doing their job really, really well today. But a high potential is somebody that could get promoted. So just because you're really good at keying accounts payable today doesn't mean you might be able to manage the department. It's a different skill set. So keep that in mind as you move through your career and your life. I ended up with some of those jobs at IMG. Somebody went out on maternity leave. Sure, I'll do treasury. I'll try that. I'll do that for a couple months just while they're gone, and then I'll go back to my regular job. Or I'll do that on top. A lot of times you have to volunteer. Times to look for are either when somebody's out on a leave or when they're in between employees in a different position. So if you have a peer that quits, and in the meantime, before they can hire somebody, volunteer. Volunteer to help out, take over. Your boss will appreciate that, and that will get you noticed. Melissa asked us to address some of the classes that you could take and what we would recommend as far as what will get you ahead in life. The classes you're focusing on now are to get your degree, and I'm assuming majority of you guys in the room are accounting degrees or finance degrees. So those classes are critically important that you understand that base. But I would also highly recommend that the classes that will get you promoted beyond the first job are not necessarily the accounting class. It's going to be English. It's going to be your writing skills. It's going to be your communication skills. It's going to be whether you understand what the marketing department does. So I'd highly recommend any of those extra classes that you have to take, extra, not required as part of the major, but you have to have so many credit hours. Take a wide variety of subjects so you understand. So when you become the accountant who's assigned to the marketing department, you have half a clue of what they're doing and what their objectives are and what the language is that they're actually speaking in, because they won't speak in accountingese, by the way. They won't understand you, and you won't necessarily understand them. And it's up to you to go bridge that gap, and you speak their language, because they're never going to know what a debit and a credit is, okay? So just get that in your head right now. Management classes, economic classes. You should be able to read the New York Times and the Wall Street Journal and understand what they're talking about, where the economy is going, and what your business industry might be facing. So that would be my recommendation on classes. And then once you get that job, keep learning. Don't stop reading, don't stop studying. Take advantage of some of the article aggregator services. So I know the Colorado CPA Society has one that they aggregate once a week. AICPA has one, where they're pulling different business news. Take advantage of those and be reading those. LinkedIn is a great source of that kind of stuff if you join any of those chat groups. You don't have to chat and comment, but they post articles and different people do. So it helps you keep up on kind of where some trends are going. My industry in sports is definitely a growing one in Colorado Springs, with the Olympic Committee kind of anchoring it here, and with all of the NGBs that we have, there are quite a few job opportunities around. It's not necessarily as growing maybe, and Melissa can probably speak to this, as some other industries, but it's a good stable one in this country, in this city in particular. When you look at entertainment properties and what they're doing across the country, if you think about it, sports is the one thing that you guys all watch live. Everything else you can tape and watch on demand later on, so, right? But sports you need to watch live. And marketers and other companies have noticed that, because they will be the ones that they're one to advertise on sports, because they know you're gonna see the advertisements, because you can't fast forward to the next quarter of the football game. You gotta sit and watch. So because of that, our marketing revenue keeps growing, and therefore we as an organization can keep growing and keep bringing athletes into town. Employment opportunities. So Melissa also asked that we touch on kind of what I look for when I'm hiring, and I've hired quite a few people in my 8 years now at the USOC. I'm looking for the skill sets that you can't teach in school. So I'm looking for curiosity, communication skills, friendliness. If you've ever done any studies of some of the great customer service companies, they hire for personality. They figure they can teach you everything else, but they can't teach you to smile and be nice to somebody, right? If you didn't learn that from your mom and dad at 6, I'm not gonna help you, at least most likely. So I'm looking for that kind of stuff. Obviously you gotta have the basics, you gotta understand the accounting. If you don't know your debits from your credits, I don't know that I can probably teach you that either if you've made it through this good school and you still didn't figure that piece out. But so that's what I'm looking for. It's a friendliness, and it's an openness to learning more, because you won't progress and you won't actually really learn your job very well if you're not open to new ideas and new concepts. My other recommendation would be, coming out into the job market as it is today, take a low-level job. Just because you have an accounting degree does not mean that an accounts payable job is not beneath you, if you will. And to give you an example, I have a UCCS grad that works for me right now. She started as an accounts payable clerk, and on a USOC, the accounts payable does not need a 4-year accounting degree. But she took the job because she came out of UCCS in 2010, and it was kind of a really tough market at that point in time. And she's now a manager level in internal audit, and she's doing very well. So, but she took a risk at taking a lower level job, and we were quite happy to take her for a little while and get ready to promote her up. So, my other recommendations on what you can be doing now before you leave UCCS is volunteer at jobs. If you want to get into the sports world or even any type of an event industry, volunteer at events. You should understand how they work and get yourself known, and And it may not be an accounting level job, but offer to work the ticket booth. You know, every major event that they have in town through Colorado Springs Sports Corp, they need volunteers. They put out for volunteers. And I can tell you down at the El Pomar sports facilities down south, they're always having events that need volunteers too. And it's a great way to get yourself in if you're looking to get into the sports industry, to say that you've worked with different people, and that will help open up the door to accounting level jobs, if you will. My other recommendation would be to, if you think you want to work in sports, think about your personality trait. The speakers were talking earlier about what makes somebody good. Not every accounting job is the same. So what would make somebody really good in Roberta's world, in the manufacturing world? They will hate sports. I also had an accountant many years ago who was a very good accountant, but she liked things to be neat and orderly and predictable, and she loved the analysis in a spreadsheet. Guess what? She could not fly by the seat of her pants, and the tumultuousness of running events was just not good for her. Like, you could just tell, she just was not happy what she was doing. And when she was working with the unpredictability of some major tennis events, and it was just not a good fit. And she went on to be a great accountant at a manufacturing firm where it was definitely all structured and laid out, and that was what she liked, and she was really good at it. So you ought to think about whether you really want to work in accounting in sports. Just because you like to watch sports or play sports does not mean you necessarily need to work in sports. So I myself was never an athlete, not an elite level anyway. In fact, when I used to work in the professional tennis group, they used to ask me if I played tennis, and my answer was nope. Even though I grew up playing tennis, but not to their level, so never would admit it. So think about what makes you tick, what part of the accounting degree you like. Why did you come into these classes? What was it? What drew you into this major? And then think about that, and what can help you out with that. Okay? Thank you very much.